10 Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Kev, did you have a great weekend?
Solid weekend. I did some Christmas shopping.
What'd you get me?
Same thing I got you last year.
Wow, you didn't have to do that. I thought you overspent last year, but this year you just outdid yourself. Congratulations. But no, still no Christmas shopping for me. I was actually surprised to find out that Nora had checked off a couple items off her list. And, we're doing this little weird game where we've said because we just bought a house, we are not going to get each other anything for Christmas. But look, I know how that game ends. And that's a quick way for that house to become all hers here in the very near future. So you know what? I'm going to get her something, even though we've agreed not to. And then that way, if she doesn't get me something, then I look better than her because I got her something. And then I could say, oh, Nora didn't get me anything.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Absolutely. Better safe than sorry. That is a great way to segue into this next, to the open of the show. Better safe than sorry. That's a good philosophy to live by, unless you are Zac Taylor. That was a great segue. We didn't plan that, but that I have to interrupt that great segue to pat myself on the back. But we can go back into it. So let's see. But that was great. That was perfect. That was like Garoppolo in overtime. It was just executed perfectly. But we welcome you in to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. That's right. They just bought my house through Brad, so appreciate Brad's work and sponsor the show, and I appreciate that. But yes, Kev, yeah, better safe than sorry. That is the perfect segue into this. The Cincinnati Bengals lost 26-23 at Paul Brown Stadium yesterday afternoon in Cincinnati to the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have just been breaking Bengals fans' hearts for decades. And yesterday was no exception, Kev. Better safe than sorry. That is, of course, the theme of yesterday's game. And there's so many things to dissect about yesterday's game that I want to get into. I'm going to put the disclaimer out there. Yes, I'm a Bengals hater. Get all that. I'm taking that cap off. There are going to be some things I say you don't like about this particular game, but I don't really care. We're talking about a team that started out 5-2, Kev, and they've won 2 of their last 6. You start out 5-2. You were the talk of the town. You were the talk of the league. Everyone was drooling over the Cincinnati Bengals and Joseph Burrow. And since then, I don't know if they didn't know how to handle all the attention, handle all the compliments, handle all the praise, but they have dropped 2 of their last 6. They are now 7-6 after starting out 5-2. And I'm just like, this is a team that every week I get a lot of chirping from people telling me how wrong I am about this team. And I'm like, you do realize that since starting 5-2, you're 7-6 right now. Like, I don't think I'm that wrong for being critical of a team that is losing on a week in, week out basis. I'm not hating. I'm just trying to make sure I set the tone for context purposes for what I'm about to say, because you do not lose 4 of your last 6 if there are not some discrepancies and deficiencies within how you're executing, not just your offense, defense, and special teams especially. The Cincinnati Bengals had a chance to win that game yesterday in overtime, should have won that game yesterday in overtime. And there's a lot of blame to go around, whether it's special teams, whether it's Zac Taylor, whether it's the quarterback who, yes, statistically had a great game, but needs to remember, Joe Burrow does need to remember that in the game of football, there is a first quarter, there is a second quarter, there is a halftime. There is a third quarter and a fourth quarter, and hopefully for Joe Burrow, who went down in overtime for the second time this year, second time this year, there's an overtime. Hopefully you don't have to go into overtime, but there is an overtime. If Joe Burrow, who could put up 350-plus yards with 1 quarter of real play, imagine what could happen for the Bengals if Joe Burrow would become more consistent from quarters 1 through 4. That's the first thing. That's not me, ignoring the job that he did in that fourth quarter. That was some clutch stuff, and there's been a lot of criticism of Joe Burrow and his clutch time performances, how he performs in that fourth quarter. That's been something that has been easy to point at and say he's a problem. He leads the league in fourth quarter interceptions. His QBR is not very good in the fourth quarter. He shrinks when the moment gets big. That's not a shot. That's the numbers tell you that. That was not the case yesterday, though. Joe Burrow, that was some superstar-esque stuff yesterday on the drive and everything that he did. Okay. I am nitpicking Burrow because it's like, clearly you have that in you. I keep hearing how great Joe Burrow is, yet his win-loss record does not indicate that. His leading the league in interceptions does not indicate that. The fact that when he throws 30 times or more, that his team continues to lose ball game after ball game after ball game. They are now 4-14-1 when he throws 30 or more times. Those numbers are telling a completely different story than what you are saying. But I do know why you're saying it, because when you watch the game, man, he looks good throwing that football. Man, he makes some fun-ass plays, and he has some great receivers. Jamar Chase, by the way, and it never fails. The second I tweet anything out critical of a player, they usually, like Bengals fans, really, the more bad things I say about your team, you should welcome that, because I usually get shut up very quickly after that. I tweeted out yesterday, Jamar Chase leads the league in drop passes, and he does. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. And you would have thought that I gave an opinion on him. I just said, hey, he leads the league in drop passes, especially after he dropped a pass in the first quarter. And then sure enough, he gets that big touchdown catch. I know it ruled, no shocker, a drop, but it was a hell of a dive, a hell of an extension, and would have been a hell of a touchdown. But we haven't seen those explosive plays for weeks. The point is yesterday's loss was not on Zac Taylor. It wasn't on Burrow. It wasn't on special teams. It was on the team as a whole. You win as a team, you lose as a team, as Kevin would say in his bumper sticker style material. He loves those cliches, but it's true. Yesterday was not on Zac Taylor. Yesterday was not on punt return. Yesterday was not on Burrow or anyone. It was a team effort to lose that game, because the Bengals have not put together a full four-quarter performance since that Ravens game back on October 24th. October 24th. I talk all the time about how the Cleveland Browns are a first-half team. They always put up a ton of points in the first half. Baker always looks the best in the first quarter and a half of a football game, and then he shrinks as the game goes along, as does the rest of the team, defensively, offensively. We saw a prime example of that yesterday, as the Browns had to hold on for dear life to hold on for a win against the Ravens with a backup quarterback. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous, but that's who the Browns are. The Bengals are the opposite. They don't ever come out in the first half hot. The only time they had was against the Ravens, when they just completely blitzed them. I mean, it was unbelievable. They haven't looked that hot since then. What we saw in the fourth quarter yesterday.
Yeah, they did. They put up, 40 against the Steelers in the first quarter?
Oh, my bad. My bad. You're right. My bad. Okay. But again, because they had to take the dogs up, but we haven't seen a full four-quarter performance where they've been able to put it together. I liked how they looked against the Packers, although stalled offensively at times, but it was more consistent. Yesterday was one quarter of great performance offensively. So people are like, Joe Burrow, he's so great. He has this team in position to win. And it's like, but they were in position to lose, because Joe Burrow and that offense can't get it going until the fourth quarter half the time. It should not take you three quarters to get it going. And that's the problem. There are wins left on the table. So yesterday, the big debacle, when they get into overtime, Kev, again, they lost 26-23 in overtime to the Niners. And I'm going to get to Kev's point in a moment. But everybody, I'm not a Zac Taylor fan. 2 weeks ago, I said Zac Taylor shouldn't be the head coach. Every Bengals fan wanted to kill me, Kev. Remember that? It's kind of funny how that tune has changed a little bit. Mine hasn't. Theirs has. Everyone is mad at Zac Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. What was the name of the punt returner, by the way, for the Bengals? Phillips or whatever.
Phillips.
So I keep hearing from fans blaming Zac Taylor for Phillips continuing to botch punt returns, continuing to fumble, turn it over, and that was huge yesterday. Everyone kept saying, Zac Taylor, what is wrong with you? He keeps turning the ball over. He keeps dropping punt returns. Get him out of there. Every time, and I even said this, I said yesterday, I'm not mad at Phillips. He's doing what he does. He's not a good punt returner, and they keep dropping him back there. So if he's not a good punt returner, and Zac Taylor continues to keep him in that role, every time an error or a mistake is made, that is officially on Zac Taylor, not on Phillips. Phillips is doing what Phillips does. If you send Shaquille O'Neal to the free throw line over and over and over, and you send him there and he keeps missing and missing and missing, at some point that's no longer on Shaq. That becomes on you for putting him in that position to shoot those free throws. That's where I'm at with Zac Taylor and Phillips. Now, Bengals fans, and I agree on that. Why is he out there? He should be cut by now. He cost the team a game. He's cost the team games because he cannot fundamentally catch a punt, return, and return it. Like, it's horrible. It's bad execution. It's bad fundamentally. It's on Zac Taylor. So we agree that if you have a guy that continues to make mistakes at what he does, that it's on the coach if you continue to use him in that situation that leads to turnovers, that leads to points to the other team, and ultimately that leads to a loss. We can agree on that, right, Bengals fans? Yes, we're all nodding our head because it's true. You don't continue to put a player in a position that he has continued to fail at over and over and over. You cannot continue to put Phillips in that position after he has failed over and over and over and expect him to figure it out. And in the midst of you waiting for him to figure it out, any mistake that happens between the last mistake and the next one, that's on the coach. That's a duh thing, right? Get Phillips out of there because he keeps making a mistake in that situation. Find a way to use him different or move on. We all agree on that. Joe Burrow yesterday killed it. I mean, that's as hot of a quarterback performance as I've seen from any quarterback in the league in a while. I mean, he was feeling it. He had the mean mug going. I mean, he was just rolling. I get it. They get the ball deep into Niner territory in overtime. And the Niners hadn't figured out a way to stop Joe Burrow from that fourth quarter on. So for 350-plus yards, multiple touchdowns, I mean, he was on fire, right? Well, you get the ball into Niner territory. This is familiar territory. This is a situation that the Bengals have found themselves in quite a few times, coming into this game. We have seen the Bengals in overtime get into Packer territory and have a chance to take the lead and win that game against the Packers in overtime. We saw that. We saw Joe Burrow have a great game against the Packers. We also saw Joe Burrow lose the game to the Packers with his interception in overtime. Okay, that was one. We watched them struggle against the Jets. The Bengals struggled against the Jets, not Joe Burrow and the offense. Joe Burrow had a great game against the Jets. We've seen this before. Late game situation. Joe Burrow is slinging it. He is throwing a hell of a ball. The offense is moving the ball up and down the field. The Bengals have a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter and ultimately go on to win that game. But Joe Burrow's feeling it. Throws an interception. That's number two. The Chargers. Bengals did not play well. Burrow did not play great, although if you look at the video breakdown and Dan Orlovsky and a lot of other NFL pundits out there say that Joe Burrow outplayed Justin Herbert despite the 3 interceptions that Burrow threw, or 1 fumble for a loss and 2 interceptions, could have been 3, 1 was dropped. They say, he played a hell of a game. He did play a hell of a game. In fact, the Bengals had an opportunity to cut it to within 1 possession in that fourth quarter, and he throws an interception in the end zone. But Burrow was playing great. So people keep throwing in my face, Justin, how could you blame Joe Burrow for yesterday? First of all, I do not blame Joe Burrow for yesterday's loss. So be patient, but I'm not blaming him for yesterday's loss. I am blaming him for what led to the decision to become, what do you call it, lemon booty?
Lemon booty.
Lemon booty, yeah. Zac Taylor went lemon booty yesterday, and it was justified. You guys keep getting angry at Zac Taylor. Why would you, with the way Joe Burrow was throwing that football in Niner territory, go for the kill, get the touchdown? Zac Taylor has to be aggressive, right? Zac Taylor has always been aggressive. And Zac Taylor, when aggressive, it has bit him in the ass. And they have 3 losses on the year that have resulted in Zac Taylor being aggressive. The Bengals are 7-6. They should be 10-3. If they would have decided in Packer territory, hand off to Mixon, hand off to Parent, hand off to the running back. Let's get to the fourth, let's get to fourth down, kick this field goal and get the hell out of here, right? Not really out of here. They were at home. You would have beat Green Bay if Zac Taylor wasn't trying to be aggressive. You would have beat the Jets if you would have been a little less aggressive and been smarter with the play calling. You would have had a chance to beat the Chargers had you completed that touchdown pass and had not him be reckless in the end zone. Zac Taylor has been aggressive all season, and it's bit him in the ass because you have a quarterback that leads the league in interceptions. You have a quarterback that has been labeled as reckless by many NFL pundits out there, despite saying that he can sling one hell of a football. We know that. I'm not denying that. I'm not even saying Joe Burrow is a bad quarterback, but let's stop acting like Zac Taylor had no justification in being conservative with the play calling, because we've seen that movie before. Wow, we have a chance to win this game. All right, Joey B, go get it for us. Lost to the Packers, lost to the Jets, lost to the Chargers. His interception problems cost them in the game against the Bears. And let's not act like he was flawless yesterday. He did throw an interception. It was a penalty on the other side of the field that negated that, called that interception back. A couple plays later, ball's bounced up in the air. Doesn't matter that he dropped it, and doesn't matter that necessarily wasn't Burrow's fault, but that's 2 potential interceptions right there that Joe Burrow would have had. So not blaming Burrow for yesterday's loss. And I'm not even necessarily saying that I agree with Zac Taylor being conservative with the play calling. All I am saying is, can we stop picking and choosing when we want to get mad at Zac Taylor for not learning from his mistakes? Because you guys want Phillips out of here because they keep punting to him. He keeps fumbling it, keeps giving up points. Man, Zac Taylor, how many times do you have to see it before you change what you're doing? Well, that's what he did with Burrow. He didn't trust Burrow in that situation. I don't care how good he was to that point. He was really good in against Green Bay. Still threw the game-losing interception. He was really good against the Jets. Still threw an interception in the fourth quarter with the chance to take the lead. He was really good against the Chargers in the fourth quarter. Still threw an interception, which then sealed the deal. The Chargers come away with the win. Joe Burrow's been good all year, folks. I'm not saying that. He's been great. But he hasn't been great in the fourth quarter. He hasn't been great in crunch time situations. I know he, tied the game super, but that doesn't erase what has happened all season long. I think that right now, Zac Taylor is in his head. He knew the Browns won earlier in the afternoon. He knew a loss would put them below the Browns in the standings, and now they would have two more teams to jump. I think all of that's playing a role. Right now, you're starting to learn about who these coaches are. You're starting to learn about the Browns. You're learning about the Bengals. Mike Tomlin's going to come in key here because not the most talented team in that division, the worst team in that division. Coaching has won them games this year. Coaching has lost games for the Bengals. It's lost games for the Browns. And that's what makes this race to the finish line so interesting. So, folks, I'm not saying Burrow's bad. I'm not blaming the game last night on Burrow. But I'm also not blaming Zac Taylor for being willing to go, as Kev says, lemon booty. There has been way too many mistakes in crunch time from Joe Burrow for him to just say, well, he's playing well today. Let's just rip it. I have no problem with that, especially considering the last time that the Niners had scored was 7 minutes and 50 seconds in the third quarter. They were not moving the ball at ease. I know Kittle was getting the ball pretty easily. I get that. But at the very least, the Bengals could have held them to a field goal. I think where the blame needs to go on, we keep passing the blame on everyone else except for the people that it needs to go on to. I get it. I'm not giving Zac Taylor a passing grade for yesterday. But when the defense had played lights out, I mean, I know that Kittle moved the ball. He got the ball everywhere he wanted. I get that. But even with him having 115 plus yards on the receiving end, they still put up only 3 points in that second half. And what made you the fact that you can't trust a defense that you spent $200 million on over the last two off seasons? If a defense that you spent $200 million on, if a defense that only gave up 3 points in the second half, if a defense cannot keep Jimmy Garoppolo out of the end zone in overtime in Cincinnati, then that's not on Zac Taylor. Zac Taylor still put Joe Burrow in position to even have 350-plus passing yards with multiple touchdowns. Zac Taylor still called a good enough game to have Joe Burrow be in position to tie the game to go into overtime. I'm not a Zac Taylor guy, but you guys sound foolish who are blaming that loss on Zac Taylor, who, in my opinion, still gave the Bengals a better chance of winning than going for a touchdown that if Joe Burrow was too aggressive, which he has been in the past, he's reckless at times, why risk it? You have 3 points right there. I get the context. I know your plan. I'm going to let you get to it in a moment, but I get that there's other ways of viewing this about being aggressive, but being aggressive has cost the Bengals games in the past. They are 7-6. They should be 10-3. And really with yesterday, that is a result of the losses from before. I'm not bashing the Bengals here. I'm just telling people, you got to understand where that came from. Zac Taylor didn't just decide, you know what, screw Joe Burrow. I'm just gonna run the ball. I think he thought of the team as a whole. The team as a whole is what he was thinking about. The game as a whole. We desperately need this. We got to be careful. Yes, he coached conservative, but I don't necessarily think that was a wrong decision. What the group that messed the game up was defense. Garoppolo and that offense wasn't moving the ball at all in the second half. And then the first offensive possession they have in overtime, the defense lets them march it right down and score a touchdown. And you're going to blame Zac Taylor for being conservative on an offense that put up 350 passing yards on the day with multiple touchdowns and took the lead in overtime? What is wrong with you people? Like, I know it's tough being a Bengals fan, but Zac Taylor's to blame for a lot of things on this team. I don't put that necessarily on him yesterday, and I'm not even a Zac Taylor guy. 518-1410. The caller's calling in now. I'm going to put you on hold just for a second. Kev, your thoughts as you rebuttal.
One, I got to give a lot of props to Jimmy G. I'm not the biggest Jimmy G fan out there in the world, but in overtime, he made a ton of clutch throws. I mean, when you throw Kittle the ball 15 times and he catches it 13 times, that ain't all the the tight end. That's not all the ways the receiver just catching the ball. He's putting it in to catchable windows. So I got to give Jimmy G a lot of props. And obviously Kittle, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. And also want to give Deebo Samuels a lot of credit. He's out there with a bum ankle. He's a 6 foot, 200-pound wide receiver playing running back because they don't have any running back. So I want to give them a lot of props. To the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, the reason why I would say it is on Coach Taylor, partially they lost this game, it was because the lack of aggressiveness. If I'm ever going to side on anything about the Baltimore Ravens, it is the way Harbaugh is aggressive. And I know my coach, Coach Tomlin, says they're predictable because they're so aggressive. I like being aggressive. I like my team being aggressive, especially in overtime. When you kick field goals, you're begging to lose because you're giving the other team, an opportunity at the ball. In the NFL, when you score a touchdown with first one with the ball, that's it. That's game over. So I like being overly aggressive. I can't jump on board with you with he didn't trust Joe Burrow. They didn't go for it because of the examples you displayed, because we have other examples that show in week 1 in overtime, drove them down the field, got a touchdown, and they scored in overtime to win the game. And then in week 4, was it Jacksonville, when they were down like
Jacksonville.
Nonetheless, this is the NFL. They're down.
And there's Jacksonville.
They're ultimately aggressive in the game, and they win that game. So for every example that you could say, like, oh, he choked it away, those are 2 examples where Joe Burrow played good football, and they were aggressive, and they won the games. I'm going to go on the aggressive side because that is the whole reason why you accept getting the ball, to be aggressive. If you want to be passive, kick it, hold them to a 3 and out, get the ball back, get a 10 yards, kick a field goal, and that's it. So you negate the whole purpose of accepting the ball in overtime if you're not going to be aggressive. So that's where I'm at with Coach Taylor and his lack of going down the field, or, I don't even mind a run on first down. Obviously, you got to run the ball, but, I would like to get some run pass options, some bootleg. Hey, the good old wise spider banana. If the fullback or tight end ain't open in the flats, let me run, pick up a couple yards that way. Give yourself more options than just run it 3 times in the line of scrimmage and expect your defense to stop it, because you give them an opportunity. You still have to kick the ball off. So who says that the San Francisco 49ers don't take it 100 yards and win the game on a kickoff return? If you have a chance to end them. Be aggressive in overtime. As far as Phillips, I saw the 2 muff punts and fumbles and everything like that set up scoring opportunities for San Francisco. I haven't been watching every single punt return from the Bengals. I'm sure Charlie has it charted to a T how many times Phillips has fumbled on punt returns. After the first one, obviously, I'm not going to pull a guy if he makes one mistake. Like, mistakes happen. It is what it is. And after the second one, all right, I'm going to need you to sit next to me for the rest of the game. We can't have those anymore. So if some Bengals fans could tell me, like, oh, man, y'all, this is a routine thing for him, he drops one every single game, then I'll jump on that side. But as far as I'm watching, the first one, I'll let you go back out there and atone for the mistake. But after the second one, you guys sit next to me. So like I said before, if like this is a thing that he's been doing all season that I don't know about, let me know, and then I can change my tune about that. But as far as aggressive,
that's been a reoccurring thing weekly, which has been leading to the frustration. Everyone thought for sure he'd be cut by now. I don't believe he has been. Bengals fans, help us out. I don't think he's been cut as of now. Everyone thought for sure he'd have been announced as cut today, and they, I guess the press
he's the nickelback too, right? Yeah,
they said that they haven't decided what they're using with him. It's like, okay, but I don't know what he brings to the table with his other positions, but just stop using him in that one. But you can't. And that's a very mental position as well. I mean, every sport, every position is. I mean, when you you have a little bit of the, you kind of get the yips. Like, and I think that's what that kind of came down to. And that ball's in the air. Now you go from just thinking about catching it and running to now you're like, don't drop it. You go from catch it to don't drop it.
When you say don't in sports, that's what's going to happen. I mean, you could put Chris Evans back there. He returned kicks when he was at Michigan and everything like that. There's plenty of guys on that team that can go back there and fair catch it and just catch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need Deion Sanders back there or shoot Tariq Hill back there trying to make a play every single time. So as far as that concerned, like, you enlightened me that this has been an ongoing thing. So if it's an ongoing thing, then absolutely, like, all right, man, we can't have this. So that's where I'm at with it.
And that's totally fine. I get that about the Joe Burrow thing. But again, you don't have to agree with it. I'm not even necessarily saying that that's, right. I don't like that I would have loved to seen Joe Burrow throw the interception. I have no problem with it. I get great joy out of Bengals fans' misery. I have no problem admitting that. So for me to say that I am upset with Zac Taylor for not allowing Burrow to throw the football, I'm with you. I like being right, and I've been right about Joe Burrow 75 to 80% of the time. And that drives you fans nuts because you hate that he leads the league in interceptions after ripping Baker for being such an interception machine. I talked to Mark Schlemmer earlier today, and I called him an a-hole. And I said, you are a jerk. You know why? And I told him I was going to call him out on the air today. I said, you know why? Because you, before Baker even threw his first interception in the NFL, gave Baker Mayfield the nickname Baker Hayfield. Which is complete BS. Okay. And then as the seasons went on and Baker's interception numbers grew, then Schlemmer's like, see, I told you, Hayfield. And I said, but now and Baker's never led the league in interceptions. I mean, that's tough to do. And Joe Burrow's doing it easily. Joe Burrow leads the league in interceptions. So I told Schlemmer, if you do not come up with a nickname for Joe, throw it to the other team, Burrow, I'm going to be severely upset with you. So he's working on it. All right. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, it's a situation where Joe Burrow, there's been too many examples this year of, and by the way, I don't care if other, like the field goal unit missed games, mixed some field goals against the Packers. Super. You're the quarterback. I'm going to hold you to a higher standard than a kicker. So, David Shaw, you have horrible college football takes. You should save your bad takes for the college football discussions. You really shouldn't try to step into the ring with the manly football conversations of the NFL. So, take your little, your little Heisman moment with Desmond Howard over the weekend that I'm sure you just keep wetting your pants to and just stay out of this conversation, Shaw. You're not even a fan of the teams we're talking about, so just leave us alone. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. As far as Joe Burrow's concerned, I'm not saying I agree with Zac Taylor. I just think it's justified in him having some second thoughts because let's say he throws that interception. I think he's protecting Burrow from himself at the same time, especially when you haven't given up a point since the 8-minute mark in the third quarter, and that was a field goal. They didn't give up a touchdown the whole time. At the very least, you're counting on your $200 million defense to, at the very least, especially with how they performed in the second half, and the majority of the points in the first half came from Bengals' self-inflicted mistakes. The Niners hadn't proven all game that they can go on a drive like that. They capped off some turnovers from the Bengals into points. They hadn't proven that they can receive a kickoff or a punt and just march it down the field for a touchdown. The first legitimate touchdown drive of the game for the Niners came in overtime. That's not on Zac Taylor. That's on that defense that played lights out for 4 quarters. And then the one time you decide to let the Niners just march the ball up and down the field is in overtime. Folks, the game is lost more on the defense. I'm not a Zac Taylor guy. I think he should be gone at the end of the season, no matter how this finishes out. I think that there's, if Doug Collins could be let go by the Chicago Bulls, who are winning and making the playoffs regularly, I'm pretty sure that the Cincinnati, I know it's a weird jump, but I was talking about the documentary with Byers earlier today, so it's fresh in my mind. I think, Zach, you could upgrade at the coaching position. You don't have to make one change to this offense in the offseason. You upgrade your coach. This team, they don't lose that game to the Packers. This team, they don't lose that game to the Jets. This team, they don't lose that game to the Chargers. A different coach, this team is 10-3 right now. That's coming from me, who's told you the Bengals are bad. I don't think that they're bad. I think 5 plays have defined their season. 5 plays have taken them from 10-3 to 7-6. And 3 of those 5 have been interceptions from your quarterback that lost you ball games. And yesterday was not one of those. But you could possibly thank Zac Taylor for Joe Burrow not being the reason they lost that game yesterday. And it was that defense. I thought overall it was still a great game. I thought it was 2 evenly matched teams. I think Garoppolo is still very good. I've always been a Garoppolo guy. I don't think he's great. I'd take him over Baker right now. I think that the Browns would be way better with him than Baker. A couple weeks ago, we did Baker or Taker. I would not have taken Baker, or I would not have taken him over Baker. I think he does just enough. I think
these last 2 weeks have been real good for Jimmy G
against good teams. The Bengals have a good defense. Bengals are a good team. The Bengals are better than 7-6. The Bengals should have this division, and that's coming from me. Joe Burrow's awesome, guys. I'm telling you. Joe Mixon's awesome. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and maybe Jamar Chase. I'm joking. He's really good, too, if he could just get out of his head. The offensive line's not great, but if you're able to put up these numbers, even with that bad offensive line, folks, you have a great defense. You have an awesome, talented offense. Special teams are killer, yes, but like they're underperforming. Everyone keeps telling me, oh, they're still trying to figure it out. I don't want to hear that. This is the NFL. You don't get that much time to figure it out. Like it's week 13 heading into 14. This is coaching. I agree with everyone. Zac Taylor's the problem. I just don't blame Zac Taylor for the fourth quarter yet, or for the overtime. I just don't. We only have a few minutes.
This situation with Zac Taylor, let's just say for argument's sake, you're right. He was scared that Joe Burrow was going to turn the ball over or do something wacky. As the head coach and play caller, you know what plays put your guys in bad positions. So let's just say he dials up whatever play, and it's a read across the middle where danger happens, where passes are tipped and picked off a ton of the times. And that is why you put a quarterback on the move. You cut the read in half. You say, all right, we're going to send Jamar Chase on a fly route. We know we're not throwing it there. So we're going to bootleg to the other side and have the tight end in the flat or somebody else on another shallow route. Those are safe throws. Those are safe throws where you're not putting the ball in harm's way. We saw it yesterday with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after they blew that lead to the Buffalo Bills. They ran a drag route for a touchdown. That's not Tom Brady making a dime throw over 4 DBs and, oh, my goodness, he dropped it in the bucket. Dude ran a drag route. He caught it and took it the distance. Like, so as a play caller, that is also your responsibility. And not only is he the head coach, but he's a play caller, too. So if you're so scared that your franchise quarterback is going to make a mistake, give him a play that isn't going to allow him to make a mistake.
I see what you're saying, but what play is that? I mean, aggressive. By the way, take a play.
The same plays that the Cleveland Browns run but
those aren't aggressive. Those are 5 yards.
That's what I'm saying. But when it's only 3rd and 5, and you just running into the line of scrimmage, when if you watch, like if he'd have bootlegged it, if they would have called a bootleg on that, he could have ran for a country mile. He could have dumped it off to a tight end to go a million miles as well. Like that's where I'm talking about. Like if he is scared that Joe is going to be too overly aggressive, call a play that doesn't allow him to be overly aggressive.
Just that simple, huh?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to be there to run the play to execute.
They called a play that he wouldn't make a mistake on, a handoff, because Joe Burrow sucks in crunch time. Bottom line. Overtime. But
the other games don't count? The other games that he's helped them win don't count?
The other games, those games that he's thrown for under 200 yards.
I don't have the stats in front of me.
Yeah, like when he's had to be the guy. When he has to be the guy, they are 4-14-1 when he has to throw the ball 30 or more times. They're not good when they have to rely on him to be the guy carrying the offense. When he throws the ball under 30 times, like Baker Mayfield, they have a winning record. Like that's the thing. Like that's been this season. So I see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, they need more Joe and not necessarily more Joe Burrow. That's been the thing the last couple weeks. But Joe Mixon, let's not let him off the hook. How you go from a guy that went above, having gotten top 5 running back, and you've disappeared the last 2 weeks in 2 big-time games that the Bengals have desperately needed. But it's 3:32 here in the Miami Valley. We'll step away for a few moments. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. I see we have, we have Mark Smith on hold. We have Jerry, we have Eric, and we have 2 lines open. Give us a call, 518-1410. 518-1410. That's the number to call in. I'm saying the Bengals are good. They're a very good roster. But when they win games, it can't be because they're good. And then when they're bad, you have all these excuses. Well, they're young, second-year quarterback, blah, 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 blah. You can kiss my ass if that's the excuse you're going to be trying to use. They're young. They're this, they're that. Give me a break. They're not. They're young when they're making plays, but you don't say that. They're just good. But then when they're bad, it's all because they're young. It's this, it's that. Doesn't work that way. It does not work that way, especially in the NFL, where you don't get that grace period. You got to be good and good right away. And a quarterback that's lost the team 3 games, they should be 10-3 instead of 7-6. I'm sorry. That is what the fact that Baker Mayfield, with all the injuries on the Browns, has his team at 7-6 is more impressive than Joe Burrow 7-6 with 3 games that he's lost them. I have no problem with Zac Taylor kind of being a little hesitant in the play calling. That's on Joe Burrow. His inability to win games in crunch time is why he tightened up the play calling yesterday. Don't blame Zac Taylor. Blame the quarterback. I don't blame him for the loss, but I do say it's justified in how it went yesterday. We'll be back in a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be clear and sunny, a high near 55. Tonight will be partly cloudy, a low near 30. And tomorrow will be clear and sunny, a high near 55. I am Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Right now at Wendy's, try their brand new fries for yourself. Made with real natural cut potatoes and guaranteed to be hot and crispy every time. These fries aren't an afterthought. They're fries you won't forget at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities, where every Saturday is an opportunity on the road to greatness. No matter if you're out there playing your hardest or cheering the loudest from the sidelines, tailgating in the parking lot, or your favorite spot to watch the game, Goodyear knows passion is what drives us forward all the way to the playoffs. That's the road that moves us. Goodyear, more driven.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosure, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
OHMB 803-342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate, 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Germain Honda, Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0% financing on the 21 Passport, the 22 Pilot, and HRV, or 1.9% for 48 months on the 22 Odyssey. Lease a 22 HRV Sport for as little as $229 a month, or a CRV Hybrid EX for as little as $279 a month. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for all the details. We are located on Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda, Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Winter is here, and Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with seasonal refreshments and holiday beers, and they're going fast, just in time for your favorite sporting events. Rob's Beer Barn also has you covered for your holiday plans. At Rob's, you'll find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need: craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wine, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's Beer Barn has apparel. For last-minute items, you can call, walk in, or drive through. Stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ribble Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
What's all the buzz about nasal irrigation and navage? Here's the science. Airborne germs invade through your nose. When your nose gets clogged, it's less effective and germs multiply. Eventually, your immune system can get overwhelmed and you get sick. Navage pulls out the bad stuff so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. At Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Or go to Navage.com for a free gift with purchase. Navage, Navage.
There's a confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID. But one thing is for sure. Whether or not you're vaccinated, you need an accurate thermometer. Contact your medical provider at the first sign of fever, the leading sign of COVID and the flu. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Be vigilant and don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They have no scientific studies behind them and can miss the fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Take home Frickers Holiday Feast. Frickin' yum, 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 yum. Our gift cards always please. Frickin' yum, 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 yum.
Take home 4 pounds of frickin' chicken chunks for only $29.99, carry out only. Buy a $25 Frickers gift card and you'll get 5 frickin' bonus bucks free. The ho, ho, ho! For fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Frickin' yum, yum.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Companies. If you thought you missed your chance to refinance and save, think again. Mortgage rates have recently dropped below 3%, and Rocket Mortgage can help you save big. You could lower your monthly payment and prepare yourself for a better financial future. But you've got to act now. Call us today at 833-8-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Conditions apply. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio Station 1410, weighing a.m. The Bengals go down in overtime against the San Francisco 49ers at home yesterday, 26-23 the final. Joe Burrow had a fantastic game, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns. And finally, a game that you look at, you got to see glimpses of that greatness again. The offense for Joe Burrow and the Bengals has really sputtered ever since that game where they just lit off the Baltimore Ravens back on October 24th. They really have not been able to put it all together. We've seen the pass game have to carry them at times, and then when the pass game's not doing well, Joe Mixon's done a fantastic job of carrying it. But Kev, the Bengals, I think, have a chance to be the best offense in the entire league. I'm waiting for that one game where you get all of Joe Mixon and all of Joe Burrow at the same time. If they could find a way to get that game, like we've yet, as good as the Bengals have been this year, or at least to start. Remember, they were 5-2 to start the season. They've only won 2 of their last 6 games. Like they're not a good football team right now. But there's kind of no excuse for it. You have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd, all right? You have Jamar Chase, you have Joe Mixon, and if Joe Burrow's as good as you say, they should not be dropping 4 of their last 6 games. They shouldn't be 4-2 or 5-2 to start the season and then sitting here at 7-6, and you fans are still trying to tell me that they're having a good game. That's not the case. Like, it just doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned. So they have a chance to have the best offense in football. Simple as that. They should have the best offense in football. When you look at all the weapons that Joe Burrow has, the run game, the pass game, everything, absolutely no excuse for it at all. And that's what's so frustrating about this. Don't blame the loss yesterday on Zac Taylor. Blame the 7-6 record on Zac Taylor, but don't blame where they're at right now as far as that's concerned. But 518-1410, Kev Nash right now figuring out the phone situation. We're going to get you guys on the air coming up here in just a moment. But what an interesting scenario yesterday that the AFC North, I mean, for the Cleveland Browns, who, and I said this, I tweeted this out, Kev, that the Browns fan base, they have waited for decades. They have waited for decades to get a consistent winner in Cleveland. They have waited so long. It took 2 decades for the Browns to finally have a team that is expected to win every week. That's unheard of for Cleveland Browns fans. The fact that it was so painful for 2 decades just dealing with losing season after losing season after losing season. Now we're at the point where Cleveland is expected to win every week. And even when they win, you feel dirty. Even when the Browns win, I feel like I need a cigarette. Even when the Browns win, I feel like I need to take a shower and just bathe myself because I just feel dirty. I can't tell you, like, what was the last, I think the Bengals game. Thank you, Bengals. That was the last time the Browns had a legitimate win. They're 7-6. They're a game above 500. They have been banged up from the very beginning. That is not an excuse. That's the explanation. It's not an excuse. I hate when bosses, hey, I'm sorry I'm late today. Man, my car broke down. Oh, that's a lame excuse. Or it actually happened. Don't you guys hate that? Like when we get tired of hearing that answer as to why something happens and you just try to deflect it like it's not a good enough reasoning. But like sometimes that is the reason. Like injuries are why Cleveland is 7-6. It's as simple as that. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation. But like the win over the Lions, I was like, I never want to watch the Browns again. I felt great about the Browns yesterday against the Ravens. How it ended, I never want to watch the Browns again. Like, it amazes me how I could feel better about who the Bengals are offensively after their loss than I do about the Browns after a win. But that's been the AFC North, especially. If you love unorganized, bad coaching, ugly offense, middle pack defensive football, the AFC North is the division for you. If you watch one team in the AFC North, you've watched them all. But there's only one team that I feel is underperforming, Kevin. That's the Cincinnati Bengals. I watch the Browns offense. They look bad offensively. I watch the Ravens offense, even with Lamar Jackson. They look bad offensively. I watch Pittsburgh with Big Ben and Juju and these guys and Claypool. They look bad offensively. Even with getting a good Najee Harris, good run, they look bad offensively. I watch the Bengals and I'm like, they're bad and they shouldn't be. There's only one team in the AFC North that has zero excuses for why they're clinging on to a 1 game above 500 record, and that's the Bengals. I have no clue what's going on with them because they have a very good defense and they have a very good offense, and they're 7-6. Kev, I don't get it. I'm not even bashing them who they are on the field. I'm bashing their record. That's an indictment on Zac Taylor. It's also an indictment on the quarterback. You know, Baker Mayfield doesn't have Jamar Chase. He doesn't have Tyler Boyd. He doesn't have T. Higgins. You know, he doesn't have any of that. And he doesn't have, he has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but that's why they're a top run team. But they're not a top pass team. Sure, Baker Mayfield's not the best quarterback in the world, but I mean, outside of Jarvis Landry, what does he have? Who does he have? I'm waiting. I loved the receiving core 2 years ago. I thought they were better than what they were. They're not good. He doesn't have playmakers, period. So the fact that Baker Mayfield has this team at 7-6 with no offensive weapons outside of Nick Chubb, that's amazing to me. The fact that Joe Burrow has his team at 7-6 with T. Higgins, with Tyler Boyd, with Jamar Chase, with Joe Mixon, and with that defense that's been healthy all year up until the last couple weeks, the Bengals, there's a lot to be uninspired by. And you're a team that's lost 4 of your last 6, and you have the talent. That's the thing that's most frustrating to me. I know why the Browns are 7-6. I get it. I understand. I'm a little amazed at how the Ravens are 8-4, but good for them. Good coaching. Not as talented a roster as the Bengals, but yet they play smarter football. They get it done. The Steelers, I wouldn't want that roster. I wouldn't want to touch it. There's some key pieces. I love that defense. Don't get me wrong. And Claypool's a walking head case. I want nothing to do with him. But talent-wise, he's worth the noise sometimes, right? Like, not always, but sometimes. Kev, the only team that has no excuse for why they're clinging on to a game above 500 record is the Bengals. They should be better than they are. I'm acknowledging the talent. They should be better than they are.
That's the NFL. Talent doesn't win all the games. This ain't college. This ain't high school where you can pile a whole bunch of talent and roll it out there and go win games. I mean, we look at it. We're going to find out on Wednesday, recruiting day, right? Whole bunch of guys are going to sign their name to go to Ohio State. Whole bunch of guys are going to sign their name to go to Alabama. Right there, on those days right there, they're going to have more talent than mostly everybody they go up against. And that talent alone wins them games. Yep. But in the NFL, where talent doesn't rule the day, there's very rarely when the most talented team in the NFL wins the Super Bowl. How many times has New England won the Super Bowl without having the most talented team? They have the smartest team. They have the smartest coaches. They potentially have the best quarterback of all time. But the most talented team doesn't happen. When they had their most talented teams, they didn't win the Super Bowl. It's so much that goes into this winning and losing and everything like that. Going into the season, after the season that the Buffalo Bills had, everybody and their mom, Buffalo, they got the AFC East on lock, man. This is their time, man. Tom Brady's down at Tampa now. They got a rookie quarterback, or they going to roll out there with Cam Newton. Oh, they went and cut Cam. They're going out there with a rookie. Buffalo, it's AFC East. It's their time. It's going to be the 90s all over again with Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed and all those guys. Wrong. More talented? Absolutely, they're more talented, at least offensively, than New England. But it's the team game. It's everybody involved. We talked about this with the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, Phillips, he gave up 2 punts that set up scoring drives or opportunities for the San Francisco 49ers. All that stuff counts. At the end of 4 quarters, all that stuff counts. And when we try to break it down to the simple parts of, like, all right, man, who's the most talented team? Well, they going to win. How many times has the Dallas Cowboys had the most talented team on paper, and then they go out there and not even make the playoffs? Like, it happens every year. It's just, you know, who is going to be this year? Look at the Los Angeles Rams, my Super Bowl pick. Look at all that talent on defense. Look at all that talent. They got Jalen Ramsey. They got our former guy from Ohio State, Jordan Fuller. Picked him up in the 7th round. He was a starter for them as a rookie. Balled out of control. Balled out so much that they didn't even offer John Johnson III a contract because they believed in him so much. Look at them now. They got a huge game tonight on Monday Night Football versus the Cardinals. Everybody and their mom, including myself, said, oh, man, even though I'm not the biggest Stafford guy, like, oh, Stafford, now he's going to be with a credible organization, teams they're going to win. You can pile him with all this talent. You got Cooper Kupp. You got Robert Woods before he went down, or now you replace Robert Woods with an OBJ. Look at all this talent. Nah, man, it ain't always about talent. It's about execution, and it's about the head guys in charge and those coaches and everybody being on the same page, winning games. So talent, schmalent. If you in college, I want the most talented team or talented roster. But in the pros, I want the best head coaches and the best quarterback available.
Yep, and the Bengals can't upgrade at quarterback, but they can upgrade at head coach, and that's where this is my hot take. Sean Payton. if Sean Payton, like if the Bengals don't do everything they can to go get Sean Payton, now you're probably like, that's such a random out of nowhere take to have. Sean Payton's been with the Saints for a long, long time. Sean Payton no longer has Drew Brees. Sean Payton has a mess of a quarterback situation in New Orleans. Now, I know you're going to get Jameis Winston back, but if you have a chance to leave and take over an offense that has Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, I think that that's way more suitable and sexy. If the Bengals get a good head coach, they will be the best team in the AFC North. I don't care how healthy Cleveland is. I don't care if Cleveland has a more talented roster than Cincinnati. If the Bengals go out and get the right head coach, they will be the best team in the AFC North and arguably the best team in the AFC. Folks, do you realize you are 3 interceptions from Joe Burrow away from being 10-3 right now and the best team in the AFC? This is a good Bengals team. I'm saying that, and I don't even like y'all. So I'm just saying, I don't like your team. I'm just telling you straight up. I'm not being a hater. I'm being a realist. David Crybaby Shaw says Kev, that the other games that Burrow has won for the Bengals don't fit his narrative. No offense, Shaw, but look, the Bengals, when Joe Burrow this season alone throws the ball 30 or more, they're 2-6. You know when he throws under 30 times, you know what their record is? They're undefeated. They're 5-0. They don't lose when it's a balanced attack. When you have to throw the ball as much as Joe Burrow does, they're not good. You can't, you can have heavy Patrick Mahomes. You can have heavy Justin Herbert. You can have heavy Lamar Jackson. You could have heavy, great quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not one of those guys. He's a very good quarterback, but he is not a guy. Like I watched Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday. Garoppolo and Joe Burrow made a lot of the same plays. I'm not convinced that Joe Burrow isn't just a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo. And just so you guys know, and Kevin can defend this, I've always defended Jimmy Garoppolo. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I've always said Garoppolo is not an elite quarterback, but he is the best of that category on the outside. Like if you have to have a quarterback that's not elite, you know what I mean, Kev? If the stipulation is you can have any non-elite quarterback in the NFL, barring that injuries aren't a concern, I would take Jimmy Garoppolo. The dude can sling it. The dude can make plays. He's known for the one play he didn't make in the Super Bowl, but he connects on that pass.
I ain't even mad at him for that one. You know the one I'm mad at. I'm mad at he threw a pass in the Super Bowl with his eyes closed. Like I mean, every quarterback misses a throw. I'm mad at him for that. I'm to be perfectly honest, I'm still stuck on him throwing a pass with his eyes closed.
And he makes bad plays with his eyes closed. Joe Burrow makes plays with his eyes open. So I'm just saying, like Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think Joe Burrow is more Jimmy Garoppolo than anything, which is a very good thing. That's not a bad thing. But I don't think he's as elite as you guys say he is. And the numbers show that, yes, he's capable of throwing for big numbers. So is Jimmy Garoppolo. But nobody is sitting there saying, I mean, the Niners drafted Trey Lance. I'm not saying Joe Burrow's not the answer. He's in year 2. Yes, you got to let it breathe a little bit. But I think that the ceiling for Joe Burrow is Jimmy Garoppolo. And you can win a lot. You can get to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. You have a chance to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the same could be done with Joe Burrow. But don't sit there and act like he doesn't have enough deficiencies within his game that made Zac Taylor go lemon booty in overtime yesterday. That's Kevin's line, and I'm stealing it because I like it.
Would you rather have
his butt puckered because he didn't want to put the game in the hands of Joe Burrow in overtime, even though Joe Burrow got him there? We've seen that movie before, and I think that he took the ball out of his quarterback's hands for that very reason.
Would you rather have Jimmy G or Stafford?
Ooh, I think Stafford has better playmaking ability with his arm, but he's too inconsistent, but they both are. I'm going to say Stafford. I don't think Stafford's necessarily the problem with the Rams right now. I think it's a lot of just moving parts, and I think you have too many cooks in the kitchen right now. I'll take a less talented roster that's has good team chemistry over what the Rams have cooking right now. It seems very strange, but let's not act like Kupp's being out didn't impact the direction that team is going into.
For sure. Cooper Kupp is a dog. Like, he's a dog. And if you're going to force anybody the ball on that team, you force it to him. Because this whole force the ball downfield to the tight ends and to OBJ and everything like that, and OBJ hasn't been there long enough to be an issue. Let's be clear about that. But I've never been a Stafford dude. I know people love the stats and all, man, he played with Detroit and yada, 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 but I don't know, man. Even though I ain't even no Jimmy G fan either, I don't even think I can answer that question yet, to be perfectly honest.
All right, we'll be back. All right, so we got the phones fixed, right?
Yes, we are
good to
up
go?
and rolling.
All right, who do we let everyone know who we have?
We
on
have
hold?
Charlie, Mark, and DoorDash Ray is back in the fold.
All right, we have Charlie, we have Mark, DoorDash Ray. We're going to get to you guys right away. We have other callers behind them, but I'm going to make sure we get to these three callers on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by, of course, Orion Sports Medicine, Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Hour number 2 coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Gather near and bring the cheer this holiday season. Dazzle and delight the love of your life with a gift from Hellsberg Diamonds. Don't miss great prices on stunning diamond studs, tennis bracelets, gemstone rings, and the year's must-have look, gold jewelry for stacking and layering. Another reason to go to Hellsberg, get a free Microsoft Surface Laptop Go with a purchase of $1,699 or more. Visit hellsberg.com or a store near you today. Limited time offer while supplies last. See online or in store for details.
Does your child play video games with loot boxes or in-game rewards? If so, it's important to know when video games can turn into gambling. Learn the signs at changethegameohio.org. Teens are experiencing gambling in more ways due to increasing gaming features that mimic gambling, such as loot boxes, gaming skins, and virtual currency. Help prevent youth gambling at changethegameohio.org. This message is brought to you by Ohio for Responsible Gambling.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Ring in the new year with your family and friends with a bowling party as we count down to 2022. Polking offers all the party favors and a great food menu this New Year's Eve. This event sells out every year, so don't wait. Reserve your lane today. Safe, sanitized, and socially distanced. Let the good times roll at Polking Lanes in Dayton on Wilmington Avenue, Polking Woodman Lanes in Kettering on Woodman Drive, and Polking Lane South in Centerville on Kingsridge Drive.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Buyer beware. Make a private sale a public affair. When purchasing a vehicle from a private party, it is important to take proactive steps to protect yourself. Montgomery County offers 5 conveniently located auto title branches where you can safely initiate or complete a title transfer in a safe and controlled environment. With hours designated to accommodate your busy life, we hope to be your first and last stop when buying a vehicle. For a full list of locations and hours of operation, please visit us at montgomerycountyclerkofcourts.org. Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
Who brought the sauce?
I brought the sauce.
Who made the sauce?
I made the sauce.
What's in the sauce?
I am the sauce.
Who brought the sauce?
Spilled the sauce? Quick, the Quicker Picker-Upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand.
Who brought the sauce?
I brought the sauce.
Who made the sauce?
I made the sauce.
What's in the sauce?
I am the sauce.
Who brought the sauce? Okay.
Bounty, the Quicker Picker-Upper.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today.
If coming up with a perfect gift idea is making you feel a little like the Grinch, Roosters can put you in the giving spirit. For every $50 of gift cards purchased, you'll receive a $10 Roosters holiday buck to enjoy Roosters award-winning wings and so much more. Don't be a Grinch.
How dare you!
We all know it's better to give than receive, right? What could be better than giving and receiving? Go to roosterswings.com for more info or drop by any of our locations and purchase your gift cards today. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas from Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Fever is a potential sign of COVID or the flu, and the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Be accurate with Exergen. Exergen temporal scanners, available at Walmart and other fine retailers. Learn more at Exergen.com. That's EXERGEN.com. Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Audible is best-selling audiobooks, exclusive originals, and podcasts all in one app. This holiday season, treat yourself with 60% off your first 3 months. Just visit audible.com for more details.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back to you on 1410 ESPN Radio. I'm assuming this isn't a real Facebook account, but, you know, it technically is. There's a guy on Facebook named Some Guy. My other thing is, I'm sure Some Guy is a nice guy. I think it's weird when people don't use their real Facebook profile picture or a real name when they troll people on Facebook. He hasn't necessarily trolled me yet, but I do laugh at half the Utah fans that just literally destroyed me last weekend. Like, I'd say 90% of them all had fake names and didn't even use a real profile. But it's easier to be an a-hole when you don't have to use your real name. I at least have the guts to be an a-hole with my real name and my face live for everyone to see every single day. So there you go. I'm a classier troll.
Oh, that's what you call it.
If you're going to troll,
do it with
classy.
class.
Yes.
Got it.
Speaking of class, which something Shaw knows nothing about.
Happy Monday, Shaw.
No, is what it is. But speaking of no class, other than Shaw, but Desmond Howard. Heisman Trophy presentation over the weekend. Buckeye fans are outraged. You're so angry. I've been angry about the last decade, the Ohio State-Michigan game. I've said on multiple occasions that meant nothing to me. I didn't wake up and feel excitement. I didn't wake up and feel any kind of stress of, oh my gosh, we're not going to win this game. I felt like there was only a couple games a year that I felt like that for Ohio State, and that was playoff games. And if they didn't make the playoff that year, like Ohio State is head and shoulders above the rest of the Big Ten. Yes, I know they lost to Michigan, but I still believe that even moving forward, I don't think that Michigan is still even in Ohio State's class. I don't care if that makes me sound pompous or arrogant. It's just, it is what it is. Every year there are teams that make deep runs into the NCAA tournament that aren't necessarily deemed the top teams in the country. They're just a cute little storyline, and that's the Wolverines, and it's taken 10 years for them to finally beat Ohio State, and they're having some cute little fun with it, and that's totally fine. That doesn't bother me. I love trash talk. I love it. I have no issue with it. In fact, when there's that, like, the reason that I feel like Ohio State and Michigan had lost a little bit of it is because, like, Ohio State, they didn't feel bad for Michigan, but they just stopped paying attention to them. Like, I know Ryan Day was pushing the narrative every day it's about beating Michigan, and I'm sure it was. But as long as you strive to be a playoff team, that automatically makes you better than Michigan. So you're just going to accomplish everything within that task anyways. But I do feel like you could say all the right things about the rivalry, but when you're just bludgeoning a team year in and year out, I have a hard time believing that although the game means something, that you get all warm and fuzzy inside every single year for this. Although the game feels different, it's bigger than the normal bad team you play. Finally, Michigan made this they won. They won by double digits. They punched Ohio State in the mouth. I'm not happy Ohio State lost, but I'm happy with where the rivalry is right now. It feels real. It feels exciting. I hate Michigan again. I actually look at fake fans like Shaw and think that they actually understand what they're talking about, but they don't. They don't even watch the game. So it's just one of those things where, like, I am so happy
he doesn't watch
that the rivalry feels the way. I'm not happy they lost, but if the silver lining is that there's a little juice to this thing again, I'm fine with that. Desmond Howard over the weekend totally upset some of y'all fans. Here's Desmond Howard interviewing Hutchinson, the player for Michigan. And he took a little dig at the Buckeyes at the very end. Here is Desmond Howard. Take a listen.
The main mission was to come back, was to beat Ohio State and win a Big Ten championship. And
Hey, Kenny, I'm glad you're in between them. That's good.
And
please stay there.
Better than his offensive lineman.
Now, apparently, that was uncalled for. Apparently, that was over the top. Apparently, Desmond Howard's scum. He's a bum. He's unprofessional. He should be fired. But let me ask y'all this, Buckeye fans. If the roles were reversed and CJ Stroud was being interviewed, and CJ Stroud, who threw for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns against that Michigan defense, let's say Ohio State won, and let's say it was Kirk Herbstreit sitting there, or Joey Galloway with the ESPN. Let's say it was Kirk Herbstreit or Joey Galloway interviewing CJ Stroud, and they took a shot at a Michigan player. I need to know this, and I know the answer already, but you crybaby hypocrites that called out Desmond Howard over the weekend, I guarantee not one of you would have wasted one character on Twitter to attack a Kirk Herbstreit or a Joey Galloway if they took a shot at a Michigan player. And you know why you wouldn't? Because it would have been funny. And I found what Desmond Howard did over the weekend to be kind of funny. I thought it was a little cheesy. I get that people are like, oh, it's not the place for it, which, by the way, who made that rule? I've looked in every rule. I've Googled it. I've typed in rules for the Heisman presentation. Making fun of Ohio State is not on the rule book for it. It's crazy. I don't know. It's like baseball, these unwritten rules that we just keep throwing out there. Look, I didn't care for it. It is what it is. I'm not saying that I want to see more of that, but I actually laughed. I didn't laugh at CJ Stroud. I was like, oh, man, this is funny. Sing Michigan, get their little digs in. Okay. It is what it is. But, like, I thought people were going to have a problem with it, take shots at Michigan, and they did. But, like, the outrage, the blogger websites, disrespectful, unprofessional. What are you guys talking about? It was fine. There's nothing wrong. CJ Stroud is a very strong individual. CJ Stroud is not going to seek counseling because of the abuse that he took from Desmond Howard. I had no issue with it. If the roles are reversed and there was an Ohio State guy taking a shot at a Michigan guy, it would have been fine. Desmond Howard did tweet out an apology, and he even said, me and CJ Stroud, we were cool before. He even addressed it on TV. CJ Stroud and him, they shook hands after. They were fine. Nobody was offended except you guys. Cool it. Not everything has to be it's time for a movement. We got to change this. Stop. Let them have fun. I love this. I love that this is now going to be a part of next year's Ohio State-Michigan game. You think that clip will not be run in the pregame for Ohio State-Michigan? This is all fun. It means something again. Those cracks if this wanted to happen years ago, because Michigan sucks, still kind of does. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do against Georgia. One game doesn't make anything. Ask Oral Roberts, okay? I'm just saying. They beat Ohio State in the NCAA tournament. They're still Oral Roberts. Michigan beats Ohio State this year. They're still Michigan. It's not their conference. It's Ohio State's. So David Shaw can return back to not watching football games next year. It's totally fine. And we will all survive. We will all get sleep tonight. We will all wake up in the morning. We'll eat our breakfast and we'll get through the day. We won't need counseling for it. We won't need to call a friend and say, I'm having a really rough time because Desmond Howard, he took a shot at CJ Stroud. Get over yourself. You're embarrassing. You're a grown-ass man losing sleep because Desmond Howard, a former player of an embarrassingly bad program that had to give their coach a pay cut because he wasn't doing his job. And then he finally gets that pay cut and then finally beats Ryan Day and the Buckeyes and because they had the flu. I mean, they weren't even playing full strength. But no, in all seriousness, I just didn't have a problem with it. I watched it. I was like, oh, that was a good one. Like, I wasn't laughing at CJ Stroud. I'm not anti-Buckeye. I just found it funny. I would have found it funny if the roles were reversed. It's good for the rivalry. It's just good old-fashioned ribbing. That's all it is. Folks, you guys say more inappropriate things at your work on a day-to-day basis than what Desmond Howard said to CJ Stroud. And he wasn't even wrong. He's a better protection than your offensive line. He's right, especially that game. And it was tied in perfectly because it was Hutchinson, because it was that situation. Kev, I'm sure we and you disagree on everything, so I'm sure that's where this is going. I had no issue with it. He didn't break any rules. There was nothing wrong with it. It's only something because we made it something.
I had a problem with it, and I'm not sure what the blog sites had a problem with, but this is what I had a problem with. I think that isn't for on-air consumption. I think that type of ribbing versus athletes is amongst the Heisman enduring commercial breaks. I think that type of ribbing is for Desmond to rib at Kirk Herbstreit, at Joey Galloway, at CJ Stroud, at Coach Day behind the scenes. I don't think that was should have been done there for public consumption because this is not only CJ Stroud's day, Hutchinson's day, Pickett's day, Bryce Young's day. This is a day that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. And nobody's talking about like, oh, Bryce Young won the Heisman. Oh, Bryce Young said this in his speech. Oh, this happened. Oh, I didn't know this about CJ Stroud. Oh, I didn't know that about Kenny Pickett was only a five quarterback and sprouted, 7 inches over the summer and yada, yada, yada. All these cool stories that you didn't know about these kids until Heisman ceremony night. Everybody's focused on this. And I do think that was a little bit over the line. Everything that Hutchinson said is perfectly fine. I just was a little bit disappointed that he took that stage to take that jab. It wasn't at CJ Stroud. It was at the offensive line. CJ was the victim of it because he's the one there representing the school and everything like that. I just didn't think it was appropriate at that time on national TV because at the end of the day, I know some people think these kids are grown adults and fully developed adults and yada, yada, yada and everything like that. But at the end of the day, they still are kids. They still are developing.
They're not kids. I'm not letting you have that one. They're not kids.
They are kids.
No, you're an adult at 18. And
you're not.
They've been ripped. You are.
You're not.
You legally are. The legal system says so. But
can I finish?
Finish. You're an adult.
But you know what? You already got your mind made up. So go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You got your mind already made up. So no matter what I say, it's not going to change your mind. Go ahead.
Well, no one's going to change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. I mean,
no, I gave my opinion, and you already debunked it before I even finished saying it. So no matter what I say, you have your view, and it's going to be the word of God. So go ahead.
No, Trey Green, he makes a good point. You're an adult at 18. Break the law and find out. I agree. I was told when I graduated high school, you're an adult now. I mean, these are adults. And it used to be, can't say nothing bad about these kids because they're just college athletes. Well, now they get paid. Now you get free trucks. A lot of those offensive linemen got free trucks this year. Those kids, those kids, they're adults. And none of them were offended. Do you think that's the thing, too? We are offended for them. When if you called them and asked them, they're not offended. Why would they be offended? It is what it is. Like CJ Stroud wasn't even offended. He even smiled and Desmond Howard pointed at him. And the reason he pointed at him is because they were probably ribbing one another before. Byers just talked about how he was at the Big Ten championship game last weekend. And he said, it's nothing but a rib fest. Michigan players were there. Hell, Michigan was playing it. He got ribbed the entire time and he gave it back to him. Archie Griffin was there, ribbing the Michigan fans, ribbing the Michigan players. It's what everyone does. I mean, I don't get it. This isn't a thing. Like, it's only a thing if one of those kids comes out and says, man, that was really messed up. I'm really upset about that. Then I'd be like, okay, he's clearly upset. I just, why don't we let these kids come out and say, yeah, that was mean. That hurt my feelings. We're hurting their feelings for them. And they don't even say that their feelings are hurt. We just assume. And when you said that it took the attention away, I don't think any Buckeye fan or Michigan fan cared about the Alabama quarterback winning the Heisman. I don't think nationally this was being talked about. People that don't care about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry aren't putting it up. I just think it means to us, all the coverage and talk was about that. I don't know. But I don't think people in Texas or anywhere else are talking about it. Quinn Ewers, by the way, transferred to Texas, so they won that out. I'm coming home. So I'm glad he went there, by the way. I didn't want him at Texas Tech. What a waste of a brand to have Quinn Ewers. I'm glad Texas got him. We'll see. Texas is back, maybe?
Wasn't they supposed to be back this year? And the year before that, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that.
So
the year before that.
Oh, see, and Shaw is a very smart guy. He says they're adults too. See, Shaw's smart. I love Shaw. Shaw and I, simpatico. That's how you know when Shaw disagrees with you. Oh, crap. No. When he agrees with you, that's how you know you're wrong. Crap. Aye. No, but in all seriousness, and I was rude and interrupted you. I know. I suck at that. I got to get better at that. But I've never, like,
it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying like it's the end of the world. I just thought, like, all right, man, this is like all their day. Like, did we have to do that on national TV and everything like that for the whole world to see? Like, to quote our former president, locker room talk. Like that is a real thing. Like some of the things that are said in locker rooms and some of the things that are said athlete to athlete is not for consumption of everybody. Like that's my whole thing. Like if he did it, fine, whatever. He's not. I'm not. I sure the hell didn't lose sleep. I didn't get a nice trip to New York and stay at a fancy hotel over the weekend. But I watched it on TV just like everybody else. But I thought, like, all right, man, that's kind of like, like. Was that necessary in front of everybody? Like, for lack of a better word, maybe like a embarrassing situation. Like I got to be up here taking the brunt of everything. I played my heart out. I threw for 400, a couple touchdowns and everything. My offensive line played like trash, and I'm the one taking the ribbing for it. It is what it is. He'll be better for it next year. And guess what? They come to the shoe next year, and somebody might be in the building for that game, and that certain somebody is me. So you going to the game? It's only an hour away. What's your excuse?
I mean, he might be in a bad mood. They're going to lose, so he's going to be in a bad mood. He's going to ruin his family's Christmas. Ian Harold says, rib or not, if you want to hold these players to a standard, Desmond needs to be held to a standard as well. Classless, do that stuff on game day, not the stage of the sport's biggest award. What? The game day is a bigger stage than the stage of the Heisman Trophy presentation. Like, and if anything, I mean, those award shows are so stuffy and they're always right off of a card and there's no personality. Like, that's what I love about the Heisman. It is loose. Like the guy, like, and you can't tell a guy, okay, you can make fun of you can make fun of the adult on game day, but he's a kid on the Heisman Trophy presentation. No, Ian, like it wasn't classless. Desmond Howard's not a classless dude. I like Desmond Howard. I don't like that he played at Michigan. I think he does a great job on game day. And I love the pettiness. I love when he picks against Ohio State purposely. I love that. It's good he's supposed to. But I'm telling you now, Ian, if Kirk Herbstreit did that or Joey Galloway did that to Hutchinson, I'm telling you, none of you would be calling them classless.
I would. I don't think that's appropriate. I just don't. Like you.
He didn't say.
No. I'm saying.
I didn't say your mom.
I'm not speaking for anybody but myself. I can't speak for Buckeye Nation or the blog sites or anything like that. I can only speak for myself. If Kirk Herbstreit would have did that to Alex Hutchinson, I'm sorry, what's his first name?
Oh, so you don't even know his name?
I call him Alex. I called him Alex, but I know his name isn't
Adam
Alex.
or Aiden, or I think it's Aiden.
Aiden. Yes, it's Aiden. If Herbie would have did that to Hutchinson, I would have said it's wrong. If Joey would have did it, I'd have said it was wrong too. Like, I just don't believe in ruining these moments for people. Like,
but how do you know it was ruined? It wasn't.
You're right.
I don't like the only way this is a story to me if CJ Stroud afterwards says, like, interviewed about it, and then in the media says, yeah, and by the way, I do have a problem with Desmond Howard because blah, 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 blah. You know, it really took away from it. Then I'd still be like, you're such a baby. No,
exactly.
But
you know that some people would have said that.
No, but I'm also the one that says I can't tell someone how to feel. I can't tell. So that goes both ways. I can't tell you, oh, you're being a baby, stop. But I also can't tell you, you need to be offended by that. I can't tell CJ Stroud to be offended by it. And really, at the end of the day, if CJ Stroud was offended by it or the offensive line was offended by it, those are the only individuals that are in position to be offended by it. The fake outrage by Buckeye fans that only exists in the little frame of the world you live in. And to your point, but you watch football differently than me.
I am a Buckeye fan. I root for them nonstop, just like everybody else. But when I'm just thinking or talking about sports in general, I try my best to remove my fandom and think how I would feel as a person. If I was in CJ Stroud's shoes, granted, I'm not the athlete he is, and everything like that, I would have been like, was that necessary? Like, that's just how I operate. And I know that I operate a little bit different than a lot of other people. The offensive line, they probably don't care. They probably don't care. They're like, whatever, dude. Like, you're old. You played in the 1990s. Dude, you're older than my dad. Nobody cares. Like, and a fun fact, never mind. I'll tell you that off air. I'll tell you that off air. That's about to get a little too back to high school for you. But no, like, so I readily admit that I am a little bit different from everybody else. And I do think that if Kirk Herbstreit would have said that, I would have had the same reaction. Just like we had the reaction to Herbie taking shots at people talking about the G5 not making it. And we was like, man, that's kind of like off brand for Herbie, isn't it? Like, cussing on Twitter and everything like that. Wow, I never imagined that. But, you know, we don't know these people.
And that's the thing, too. Like, and by the way, people were calling Kirk Herbstreit classless last week for that take that he had on the Bearcats. And I was like, I love that type of Herbie, by the way.
I'm not sure what classless
because he was cussing in his tweets. Like, if you go read the responses underneath, real classy, Herbie, real classy, and all this stuff. And like, you guys, but that's the thing. People are outraged about.
Yes,
everything.
You are correct. So, people will find outrage in anything that anybody of any type of fame or clout, anything that they say, they'll find. Some people will find a negative in it. As far as Herbie and his tweet, like, look, you can cuss all he wants. He can drop the MF. It's his Twitter page. You know, it is what it is. Like, ESPN, they gonna suspend him? No, they gonna be like, keep going.
They wouldn't suspend him because he didn't do anything wrong. Just like Desmond Howard's not suspended because he didn't do anything wrong.
No, he shouldn't be suspended. No, of course not.
In his apology, I found his apology more offensive than the actual action on the stage. I wouldn't have apologized. The apology was more taking a shot at those who were offended. And I love that he doubled down. I wasn't offended by it, but my point is the apology was more of a backhanded slap to all the Buckeye fans than the actual ribbing on the stage. Buckeye fans, you're just mad because the joke actually had substance and it made sense and it wasn't offensive. It's not like he called out the offensive lineman by name. It's not like he called them, but like it is what it is. I mean, by the way, if you think that if that offended them, how they even slept that night after leaving Michigan, that probably wouldn't even have made the top 10 of the worst things said to them playing at Michigan this year.
Don't check your DMs or don't check your responses on Twitter. Because we talk about this. Remember last year when Ohio State's best player, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Basketball player.
This year, Liddell?
Remember last year, Liddell, death threats. Yeah. So,
and racist messages on Twitter and everything else. Yeah.
To your point, they've heard and seen a lot worse than what Desmond Howard said. And you're right. It doesn't make it okay just because you've heard and seen worse. But, I'm pretty sure they'll be all right.
Yeah. And by the way, for those of you who have an issue with that, but you watch Game Day and you see some of the absurd signs that are being held up in the background that Game Day lets go on the screen, doesn't bother me. I just laugh at the hypocrisy of, not from you, again, because your opinions are generated differently. Like you don't think like a fan. You try to be a Buckeye fans don't. Like, I love Ohio State fans, but you are the most soft people sometimes. Like, you guys rip Michigan for 10 straight years. You do nothing but make fun of them. You rip them. You take every shot at them that you can. But the second that a Michigan guy takes a shot at one of y'all, you lose your mind. I mean, you're filling buckets of tears. Get over yourselves. You are not, I mean, the horse, and get over yourselves and get on that horse you rode in on and get out. Because this part of sports, man, like, nothing offensive was said. You know, he didn't make a yo mama joke. All right. He didn't do it. That's what she said joke. All of which I still find funny, by the way. Maybe not the yo mama joke, because I don't know about yo mama, but I'm just saying, like, in general, they're a joke. Of course it's offensive. That's why it's a joke. Michael Scott on the outside. It is what it is. Like, but, you know, and then so Ian says, I respect what Kenner and Kev do 100%, but the type of comment Desmond made at the awards ceremony for the sport's best player is something that I would expect to hear from an affiliate show like here in Dayton or in Ann Arbor. I don't think he needs suspended for the comment. I guess the question I have is, where's this unwritten rule? Like, where I don't think you can't break a rule if a rule doesn't exist. And the only people that have a problem with it are Buckeye fans. Only people. And that's why I kept saying earlier. Like, and I guess that's okay. If you're offended by it, fine. I guess you can be as a Buckeye fan, whatever, that's your team, you know.
I seriously doubt that Sparty fans are crying for Ohio State. You just put a 50 on us. Get over it. Y'all be fine.
Michigan fan was offended by it and say, well, I'm a Michigan fan, but that was classless. No.
Probably not.
Do you think any person that's not a Buckeye fan has a problem with it? That's not all holier than thou and on their high horse. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I just couldn't believe it when I watched it, because I watched it live and I laughed. I was like, oh, that was good. Like, I thought I was going to get on social media and just see the ribbing back and forth and
clutching your pearls.
Got to go to church tomorrow and pray for this fella, because he was out of line. But in the meantime, I'm going to go back to making inappropriate jokes with my friends. I'm going to make inappropriate comments on social media. The same people that call actual human beings as radio hosts and things, you're trash, you're pathetic, I hope you get fired, they're offended by Desmond Howard's offensive line joke. Apparently, it was an offensive line joke. Oh, there you go. That was as bad as Buckeye fans' outrage. So there you go. Get over yourselves. Get over yourselves. Like I say. And so Matt Sturgeon says that the difference is Herbstreit and Galloway would not take that shot, in my opinion. I mean, that's what you could say. In my opinion, they wouldn't do that. Based on what? I mean, maybe they wouldn't, but I don't think that.
No, I've heard Joey jab. I've heard Joey jab.
That's what they do. Yeah. It is it's fine. But I guess
a jab, I don't mean to go around the bush, but jabbing at other former players and jabbing at the programs in general. I mean, we've seen Herbie and Dez do they Buckeye stuff, little slide jabs back and forth at each other and things like that. I don't think that it's ever really directed at players and things like that. I guess that's where I'm at with it. Like, that's where they differ, or they have differed over the years they've been together.
And by the way, keep on the context, because of Hutchinson's position.
Right.
Because Hutchinson was eating CJ Stroud the whole game. There was context to it. It's not like Michigan had McNamara or whatever it is. It's not like they had a quarterback there.
Yeah.
What is a quarterback? McNamara? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If McNamara was there and you had Bryce Young there and CJ Stroud there, and then, keep McNamara away from CJ Stroud, protect him, unlike that offensive line, that'd be like, that's a stretch. But because it's Hutchinson, keep Hutchinson away from CJ Stroud, protect him. Well, they'll do a better job than the offensive line did. The context, it's because it was Hutchinson. It's because he was the defensive player. It's because he ate and had breakfast, lunch, and dinner against Ohio State. I think that's why. I don't even think if it was a wide receiver or any other position, it would not have, that would even have been said. But again, it is what it is. So there you go. David Shaw says Herbstreit made a jab at Michigan after the COVID cancellation. I don't think that was a jab. I think that was a report. That was it. He insinuated that would happen. I don't think that was a jab, but at that time, talking about something, a deadly disease, that it's one of those things where you got to be careful with how you position that. So I see that being a little bit different. All right. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. You know what? Forget that. We have time for a call. We talked Bengals a little bit ago. Who's on line 2?
The Charlie.
Charlie, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man.
I almost forgot about you. I'm like, holy moly, but I was all fired up. And by the way, people are like, how come when I talk mean to callers, I don't change my stance, but I back down from Kev? Well, I need a co-host, and Kev's really, really good at what he does, so I cannot be mean to Kev. So when I started getting all fired up, I'm like, crap. I need Kevin. You better cool it. But I had to double down on my stance. You're an adult when you're 18. That's what the courts told me. I'm just saying, like.
Well, we all know what happens when Kev is not there. I mean, the show just goes off the rails.
It's off the rails today.
I'm not doing a good job.
Hey, speaking of off the rails, hey, I watched 2 games yesterday, one at 1 o'clock, one at 4 o'clock. One of them was like pretty compelling, good game, 2 quality teams. The other one was a disaster. Like what is in a porta potty?
I know that 1 o'clock game was really good. That 4 o'clock game, I could have gone without that. I mean, they didn't even play quarters 1 through 3.
It's in a porta potty.
The best play I saw between the Browns and the Ravens was the Browns guy on the hands team just getting kicked in the head with a football. That was like the play of the day. But it's like, how many cheat codes does the Browns need to beat the Ravens? I mean, how many more players need to be hurt? It's like maybe next game they'll take Justin Tucker out also, and they just have like nobody, and then maybe you guys can like actually beat them by not take a miracle to win that game.
Hey, Charlie,
what the hell was that?
I'm sure you've been drinking a lot today by the sounds of it, but I'm just curious, how much more do you have to drink to understand that you have the same record as the Browns? The Browns have been beat up and injured all year. Your team's healthy. So correct me if I'm wrong, but how is your team so great? The team with all that great wide receiver talent, how are they swimming in the murky areas with the Cleveland Browns? I'm just curious.
Well, yesterday we dropped 2 punts, and then we had a taunting penalty that lost us 4 points, and we missed a field goal.
Wow, you guys sound great.
That's why we lost that game.
Yeah, you guys
What'd
sound
you
awesome.
say?
You guys sound pretty great then.
Well, we don't have a punt returner right now.
Was that compelling game, that team you were talking about? Bad on special teams, not composed, not disciplined, turning the ball over. I mean, yeah, you guys sound awesome. Sign me up.
I said
tickets. By the way, you see how full Paul Brown was yesterday? It's sad that your team is a game out of first place before yesterday's kickoff. You're in the playoff hunt. You have Joe freaking Burrow, and yet you guys, are having attendance issues in Cincinnati. That's pretty sad.
Well,
compelling, by the way. So compelling that fans don't even show up to your games. Just saying.
Well, you and I both know what we watched earlier and then later in the day. We watched a horrible quarterback and a really good quarterback. And Joe Burrow is easily the best quarterback in the AFC North. And it's like makes you red. You cannot stand the fact that Joe Burrow is amazing. You can't stand it.
Quick question. What was the score yesterday? They lost, right? Just making sure. Quarterback's job is to win his team games, right? Because Baker's doing that, and your quarterback is kind of doing that. But you guys started out 5-2, and you're 7-6. I wouldn't be bragging about how well your quarterback's playing, because I mean that's like bragging about James Harden averaging 30 a game, and they keep losing.
I know what
that's
I
the
saw
thing.
yesterday.
If your team's losing and you're scoring 30 a game, who really cares?
I know what I saw yesterday, and you know what you saw yesterday.
Yes, Bengals fans have a habit of watching the game in chunks. You don't watch a full game. You just wait for the highlights at the end and check a box score and say, oh, my gosh, look how good we are.
Do you think that's what I do?
I based on your analysis, absolutely.
I've watched every Bengals game. I know who
Joe Burrow is. You still come on these airwaves and spew that nonsense, huh?
Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield is not close.
I agree. Joe Burrow has never beaten Baker Mayfield.
Realm.
Baker Mayfield 6-1 against the Bengals. Joe Burrow's never beaten the Browns. You're right. It's not even close. I maybe one day, buddy. Maybe one day. Just I think I can. Just keep chugging along, Joey B. You'll beat Baker one day.
How do you think the Browns are going to finish the season?
How do you think the Bengals are going to finish the season? You've lost 4 of your last 6. What do the Browns have to do with this?
We'll win the AFC North. I'm pretty sure of that.
Pretty sure of that. Can't beat the Jets. You can't beat the Browns.
I'll give you this.
Lost in overtime to the Niners. You lost. You've been getting beat. You lost to the Chargers. I mean, you can't beat good teams, man. Like, what's wrong with you guys?
Well, I will give you this. You're right about one thing.
Right about a lot
we don't really have an offense. We don't really have an offensive identity, and I don't know if that's the coordinator's problem or the head coach's
Time out. That is not true. You cannot tell me that if your quarterback is so great and you have a top 5 running back and you have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase, and you're going to actually waste my time and everybody's time with that take of they don't have an identity. They have an identity. Bad. That's a good roster, and they're bad. That's not okay. That's not okay. The Browns, they don't have a number 1 wide receiver. You have Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb, and that's it. Banged up offensive line and a 75% quarterback who, when 100%, is still not as good as most quarterbacks in the NFL, I will acknowledge. And yet here we are, 7-6, and you have a $200 million defense, and you're 7-6, and you're trying to tell everybody how bad the Browns are. It doesn't work that way, Charles.
The Browns are complete trash.
Okay. You say so.
Look, it's like
there's a guy on Facebook that said to pass him your Kush because apparently, whatever you're smoking,
wow.
Yeah.
I watched a horrible Cleveland Baltimore game 2 weeks ago. Then they had a bye week. I thought they'd come out hot. They played garbage again.
They did come out hot.
They're not good.
They did come out hot.
They're not good.
They did. If the Browns, if you could combine the Browns, how they start a game with how the Bengals finish a game, we'd have an undefeated team. The way you guys play in the second half, the way the Browns play in the first half, if the Bengals could figure out what the Browns do to start a game and the Browns could figure out what the Bengals do to finish a game, they'd be a lot better. But Mike, just a reminder, your team is 7-6 and you've lost 4 of your last 6. I just want to keep reminding you of that.
I have no problems where the Bengals are right now.
That's sad. That's why you fans are horrible. I'm hanging up on that. That's embarrassing. I have no problem with where the Bengals are at right now. Your team has lost 4 of its last 6. Your quarterback leads the league in interceptions. He's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. What are you talking about? Your roster is the most talented roster in the AFC North right now based on health and everything. The Bengals should be ahead in this division. This division should be theirs. And they are keeping the Browns in it. They're keeping the Steelers in it. The Ravens are playing horribly, and they're still in it because the Bengals don't know how to put anybody away. That's sad, man. That's it is what it is. So 518-1410. We have time for another one. Who's up next, Kev?
Mark, line 3.
Mark on line 3. Mark, did you hold out?
Oh, I did.
That's what I thought. How are you, Mark?
I'm great, Gus. How you doing today?
Good, because I know that you are you're a more logical Bengals fan. You're not like Charlie.
Charlie has his right to his opinions. We got
Kenner. Kenner doesn't allow opinions that aren't the same as his. Let's just be clear. It's been 3 years. It's not changing. But continue.
I'm literally sitting here patching this hole in my wall, and I haven't put a hole in my wall for 26 years now that I've been married. I ain't lying about that either. But no, you got to think about this. No, you don't want to call it Taylor's fault and blah, blah, blah. But it's like this, all right? If I'm playing Texas Hold'em and I'm the chip leader and I am just beating everybody, I got the head chips. I'm winning on first and on the 26-yard line on first down. I'm going all in. Every NFL team out there takes a shot at that right there. On first down, they throw the ball to the end zone. Is that not what happens most of the time?
Most teams don't have a quarterback that loses games by throwing late-game interceptions, but yes.
I get that, but I'm saying, you got to understand, he was on fire.
He was on fire against the Packers. He was on fire against the Jets. He was on fire against the Chargers. So why should I believe that him being on fire is any different this time around?
Okay, well, let's go this way then. Now, Mixon was out all week of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't we run some RPOs right there? I know it's a run pass option, but why aren't we hitting a little receiver screen to, throwing it to Boyd? He makes people miss. Taylor just shows his inability to freaking coach a team.
Well, if anything, hold on. So Zac Taylor gets zero credit for the offense putting up the numbers that they did yesterday and the same numbers that they put up in most games. And keep in mind, he was actually trying to do damage control. Rather than let Joe Burrow lose this game, Joe Burrow put the team in position to win. He marched him into field goal position rather than let Joe Burrow do what he did against the Jets, do what he did against the Chargers, and do what he did against the Packers. He said, let's secure this. By the way, the defense didn't give up a point since the 6-minute mark in the third quarter. Okay. They didn't give up a touchdown that entire second half. You have a $200 million defense, Mark. I think that Zac Taylor, whether it's the sexy decision or not, and he's not going to tell the media afterwards, by the way, that, well, I just thought with our recent struggles of turnovers, by the way, they have the most turnovers of anybody in the league. They're a turnover machine. I think that people need to remember that context to understand why he played it safe. I think it was actually good decision making on his part to give themselves a shot, and they did. You got points out of it. Joe Burrow led the team down the field, and you got points out of it in overtime. They should have been able to rely on their defense, who kept them scoreless outside of a field goal the entire second half, and the one touchdown they give up is in overtime, and now we're blaming him from not letting Joe Burrow win the game. Joe Burrow did technically win them the game. He branched them down the field, put points on the board. I just think more blame needs to be on the defense. That doesn't mean you have to be happy about Zac Taylor, but I don't think Zac Taylor lost them that game. I mean, his play calling put them in position to march down the field and have a chance to march down the field and take the lead. I thought Zac Taylor called a good game yesterday in the second half, especially, and even into that overtime. I just wasn't outraged by the decision to, settle for the field goal rather than take a chance in the end zone and risk turning it over. That's all. I mean, at least they had a shot. The defense should be ridiculed more, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but here's what I'm thinking too. You got a Cadillac. You don't freaking throw the keys away and go get your Volkswagen.
Well, I mean, that Cadillac, it has like a transmission issue, and it's a little dented on the side, but, and the roads are a little icy out there, until you get that offensive line fixed up. I'd keep that baby in the garage, man. The weather was, wasn't that great.
I got you on the O-line. I totally agree with that, too. I mean, we definitely got to do work on that. But, I mean, everybody knows the rules for the overtime. If you go down and score a touchdown, the game's over. If you go down and kick a field goal, the other team has a chance. If he throws an interception, just like you're saying on the defense, if he throws an interception, let's say to the 10-yard line or they bring it back out to the 20, whatever, in the end zone, we still got a defense to rely on.
Obviously not.
Just like you said.
Took the lead, and your defense let them just march down the field and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Mark, I'm countering everything. I'm being annoying right now. You are right. Like, I don't think it was the right decision, but I don't think it was the wrong one either. I think that anytime he's the head coach of a football team, and if he has justification for why he makes a decision, that's all that matters. You don't have to agree with everything, but overall, I mean, Joe Burrow threw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Zac Taylor ran that offense, and he's why they were in position to take the lead and why they took the lead to begin with. I just think too much blame got put on Zac Taylor last night. I actually think that he was too aggressive with play calling in weeks past, which led to all the turnovers. I mean, Joe Burrow, you guys got to remember that. Yeah, I don't think it's wrong of a coach to be a little hesitant when you have a quarterback that leads the league in interceptions, that has history of throwing late game picks that have cost his team games. I'm not being in December, man. Like, keep in mind, Mark, like, he knew the Browns won earlier in the day. He knew how important that game was. A win keeps them separated from Cleveland. I'm not a Zac Taylor fan. I'm just not, but I am a fan of him really thinking through all of the scenarios that could have unfolded there, and taking the lead in overtime is not the worst. It's not the worst idea a coach has ever had, but I feel you. I think what you're angry about, and a lot of fans are, you guys have lost 4 of your last 6. You're frustrated. And I think that was kind of the tipping point. So I get it. I can relate to that.
And last point, I'm getting in the attic here in a couple minutes after I get this hole patched in my wall, and I'm going to grab my VCR out. I'm going to dust that thing off real pretty and shiny and everything, so we can give the shawl a shove straight up his roof.
There you go. You're all right, Mark. You're all right. And hey, I need you to call this number. It's 1-800-589-9966. Help is available. Call the Ohio Problem Gambling Hotline 24/7. You said you would go all in, my friend. That's a problem. So you have a good night and you call that number, all right?
Hey, you have a great one. Y'all have fun. Bye.
And by the way, you get that VCR out. That way Sean can watch the last time he recorded a Michigan game. I'm just saying. There you go. But take care, Mark.
Yep.
All right, 518-1410.
That's funny.
Yeah, more than Justin did. Outward coming next. Holy,
That is funny.
you bet. Betting, baby. Coming to Ohio. April 22. Can't wait. Your house I bought? Always. Or pay it off early. Or yeah. Confidence, baby. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be clear and sunny, a high near 55. Tonight will be partly cloudy, a low near 30. And tomorrow